Welcome back to Punk Politics. This is I suppose, a Punk Politics light. Not a fully, nicely, slickly edited version. Just me talking nonsense through it. There's a Mail on Sunday headline today that says, "You ghouls." And this is in relation to some protesters who were seen in London with pictures of paragliders secured onto the back of their clothing. And this was a pro-Palestine march. And obviously the reason that this is so triggering, so offensive, is that the terrorists who landed in Israel and massacred all of the Israelis at the music festival they came in via like hang gliders or paragliders, right? So the implication there, or the perception, is that these people wearing those things at a pro-Palestine march are supportive of the terrorist activity. Now, when you see someone with a picture like that secured to them in this sort of context at this time, you may become incredibly upset by that. You might find that not just offensive, but totally unacceptable, politically volatile, borderline insightful. And I don't mean insightful as in, thinking a lot. I mean, like, what are you inciting by having that on there at that march at this time? However, it cannot escape our general consensus that it is usually voices from this sort of newspaper, from these coordinates on the political landscape, and I mean the sort of centre-right to far-right, it is usually these people who are the first, front of the queue to cry about snowflakes, about freedom of speech. What is the default setting? What's the natural habitat for a mail reader who would be sat there, with his glass of ale, belching about how you can't say anything anymore, can you? Shakes the papers of the Mail. Like, the natural habitat for that sort of person would be in a British Legion or an old boys East End pub, right up to the rallies of Reform and UKIP, right back down to your frustrated cabbie that you're stuck in a traffic jam with. That is the natural setting where you or I might expect to hear people railing against this idea that, you can't say anything anymore. This used to be a free country. Whatever happened to free speech, these bloody snowflakes? And yet, here is a situation where somebody is exercising their right to free speech, or at least freedom of expression, and within the blink of an eye, you've got those same people, front page splash on the Sunday papers, saying, where were the police? Why didn't the police arrest them? And of course, this isn't just the Sunday papers. We have a Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, who was on record a month ago saying that free speech is the paramount, it's the priority. She's going to make free speech the priority over this sort of default need to get offended by everything. And again, just like the Sunday papers, just like the talking heads, the pundits, the GB News Times, in the blink of an eye, over the last week, she's like, I'm going to make it a crime to wave a Palestinian flag. Not a Hamas flag, just a Palestinian flag. You wave one of those around, I'm going to throw you in the back of this car. It really is amazing, isn't it? It's in our quest to find or relocate and re-implement good old British values, it's we're falling right into the hands of the people who we think don't exercise them by exercising their... Do you know what I mean? There's something so weird and paradoxical about that. And this is the thing with people who sit on the right. Probably not all of your centre-right types, but a big chunk of them seem to operate with this mentality of we are oppressed, we are being silenced. That's why you never hear my mindset and sensibilities broadcast on the BBC, is because this is the mindset of the silent majority. Everyone thinks like I do about this stuff, that institutional racism is rubbish and that women shouldn't have abortions and that everyone that's ever done anything like that, they should be locked up for 50 years because it's some sort of moral failure. Everybody agrees with me about this stuff, but the trouble is we're being silenced, guys. We're being oppressed. They truly believe that they're being silenced, that they're being persecuted. It never seems to trouble them, the actual hard, crushing reality, that the reason you don't hear those sorts of sensibilities broadcast, either in newspapers or on TV and news and so on, is not because there's this sort of silent majority oppression, persecution. It's because most of the country, most of the UK are progressive with their attitudes. If you look at the way that people vote, they tend to vote for progressive parties, for left-leaning parties, parties that have progressive things in their manifesto, Britain is majority progressive in its attitudes. That's why there's such a dominance of sort of left-leaning sensibilities. It's not because actually you have the majority of people agree with you and they're just quiet and timid and they're being oppressed. It's because most of us out there kind of get it, apart from you. And anyway, like, why am I bringing that up? So this all sort of feeds back to this Mail front page now. It's like, why didn't the police do anything? These people had a picture of a hang glider on the back of their thing. That's offensive. Like, most people should understand that the police should arrest these people. But that is a perfect example of this sort of narrow-minded way and sort of biased, disjointed, warped way of looking at free speech. It's like the Daily Mail and Mail readers will look at that like, oh yeah, everyone can see that this person should be arrested. Most of us out there know and understand that all of us have a right to say a thing that you might not like. Now look, I don't want to celebrate this person walking around there with a picture of a hang glider on her back. I honestly question how messed up the world must look to a person like that for them to think they can do that and behave that way and still think that they're one of the good guys. But the reality is, and I hate to sound like a bloody, GB News presenter here, is whoever that person is, they do get to do that. They can do that, and it starts off a conversation. Now, you and I are talking about it, and hopefully through an exchange of ideas, or at least traditionally, this is how it should have worked, through an exchange of ideas and argument and debate, we somehow eventually get to the truth. Now, unfortunately, I don't want to break it to you, I don't think that's possible anymore with echo chambers and algorithms and, all of that stuff. But, anyway, that's my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments below.